average anglers, don't be alarmed, I haven't given up fishing to take up golf. Although on some occasions I've thought about it when the going gets tough. What we have here is something that I've just purchased off Facebook Marketplace. I've got 3 second-hand electric golf buggies. And in the background just there, some chargers. No batteries with them. But I got this all of this for £40. So I responded to an advert for these two, and the advert was these two 40 quid, no batteries, no chargers. When I got there, the bloke had a load of chargers in a pile, and he said he's going to chuck this one in for free because he doesn't know the working condition of it, and I can have these two, and he guarantees me these two were working. So what's that got to do with an angling channel? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and motorise my fishing trolley. And now I've got lots of parts to mess about with, lots of trial and error, and if I get it wrong I've only spent 40 quid, so it's not cost me anything. You've just seen that I've purchased some golf trolleys, so I want to try an electric golf trolley, because I want to try and motorise my platform, my trolley. Now, I don't have a shuttle at the moment, although I probably will get one eventually. I do have this, which is the Penrose platform stroke barrow system. This is one of the original ones, really, really old. When they first came out, it's probably 15 plus years old. It's just basically, you can see it's a platform, but what it has, what you can do, a bit clunky as you get older, but that's your platform. You can put your 4 legs on. This is upside down. There's that's one of the barrow handles there. I'll show you that in a second. What you just do is you get your wheel, you slide it into the threaded part there. You've got a box section there with the thread on, and then that becomes your wheel. Nice. This works really well for me. You know, I know it's not the trendy thing at the moment is to have shuttles, and I've got nothing against the shuttles at all. I just haven't bought one because I've got this and it works for me. As soon as this stops working for me, I won't use it anymore. But so I'm not going to be motorising a shuttle in this video. I'm going to be trying to motorise this barrow. So what I want to do, I want to modify this, but I don't want to modify it so much that I can't go back to my standard setup. If my new setup doesn't work, if I'm not happy with it, if the battery goes flat or it gets broken, I don't want to not be able to go fishing to venues where I need a platform, or a barrow should I say, just because I haven't got this new thing, because I'm faffing about this new thing. So whatever we do, we're gonna have to leave it so that we can still fit the old setup. So here we are. Here's the golf trolley. And the first thing I want to do is I want to take this handle off the top here and see what the cable's like that's connecting to there, and how easy it is to disconnect there. Because I need to get this cable. There's a cable that runs from there all the way down through these pipework. I don't want to disconnect from the other end because it's got like a special connection on, which I don't think I'll be able to remake very easily, and I want to keep that because that's the connection that goes straight into a speed controller board. So if in the future, and I've got used to using this and my speed controller board fails, parts for these hillbillies are still quite available. And so, for 30 odd quid I can get a new control board. So I'd like to keep the standard plug, so that just means it'll be plug and play for me. So I'm going to put you in the stand, and we're going to start trying to take this off. So I've got it up on the table. I'm just going to have a quick look at it looks like at some point these screws have been out. Well, they are tight. He's tight. He's going. This side's going, that side there is really tight. Just a couple of self tappers by the looks of it. Wow. Might be why these look a bit rounded off. It might be that someone's tried to get in here and done the same as me. Right, let me deal with this. I'll be back in a second. Right guys, we've got ourselves a little impact driver thing. I call these an impact driver, I'm not sure what the proper name of them is, but basically as you strike on the end, it turns and it stops you from slipping. It's what the, you know, modern day nowadays, you get a little impact screwdriver, can't you, which kind of does the same thing. Just drop the screw now, which is a great start. Yeah, so you get the modern impact drivers, the electric ones, and they work off this same principle. I've already loosened this one just before I started the camera up. I'll take these 4 screws out. I'll probably just fast forward this bit, guys, if it gets boring. These ones have just got a nut on the back. Got a nut on the back. Sort of captive in the plastic, so it's easy. It's fell off. So there we are, guys. Turned you off because you didn't want to see me wrestling around with some screws. One of them was rounding off a little bit, but I got him out anyway. So the 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and there was 4 more screws here. These were self tappers that were screwing it into the box section. These were nuts and bolts, and the nuts on the back are captive into there, so that's nice and simple once you started turning them. And I found exactly what I wanted to find, which was that I can just disconnect from here, and I've got a nice thin cable end, so I can pull that cable back through all the grommets without having too much issue. And then when I want to reconnect back to my potentiometer, that's what this is, a potentiometer. It changes the resistance basically, so that there's more or less voltage or current flowing, and it changes the speed of the motor. So yeah, I can just take them out. I haven't got to think about it too much because it's green to green, blue to blue, red to red, so that's nice and simple. And that's ideal. That's absolutely ideal. That's what I wanted to find. I've just got to try and find a screwdriver small enough to loosen them 3 off. I'm not going to bore you while you wait for me to find a little tiny screwdriver. I'm going to take them off, and then I'm going to pull that cable back down, slowly back down through the trolley. Disconnected him from there now. You can see that's disconnected. I've pulled the cable back down there by, you follow this down to here, you'll see where it comes out of a little grommet here. You just pull that steadily, hoping that that'll just come straight through. It should just come straight through there now without any bother. I'm not going to keep these grommets because they might be useful for me if I might want to use them in the future. Now this cable goes back into here, and then it comes back out. Follow it down, it comes back out here. So guys, there's the cable. I've just pulled him out the hole here. There's the hole here at the back where the grommet is. Just about make it out there. I'm going to leave him down there for now. Next thing I want to do is I want to take this top section off where the handle went. Because I'm not using that. In order to take that off, it's just simply this bolt here. It's nut and bolt, not this side bolt, that side. Just there. And then I need to take this folding, this part here, which I will want to reuse, I think. So I want to keep him on, but I want to get him off. I've got to get him off that. So that's just 2 posi drive screws in there. So I'll take them 2 screws out. I think that's just threaded. Maybe a nut on the back that I might want to keep, but I'll catch them if there is. And that's that. So again, I'm not going to bore you with taking a couple of bolts out, but I'm just taking you through the process step by step so you can see what I'm doing. So here we are, guys. I've got the piece on my arm, in my hand, that it did go on there. Come off. I've taken the plastic piece off there and just put the bolt back in. That's all that was on there. Stick piece for those that are interested. Nice little two pieces of plastic that clamp around. I'll clamp around this nicely. So if I can reuse that, that's nice, because that'll be a nice clamping point. But I might not be able to reuse it. I don't know. Might not need to reuse it. So this piece now is just free to move around as it wants. What I don't want now is I don't want this. I don't want any of those bits at the bottom, and they all just look like they're simple. Just screw heads on one side and nuts on the other. So I'm just going to whip everything off so that I'm left with just basically the bit that I want then. Maybe I can explain to you a bit better what I'm trying to do. So we're upside down in the vise, and you can see what we've got left is that bar. And I just want to leave a section of that on there Let's cut that off evenly both sides, so we've got a little bit of that. And what I've just found is that the legs that I've got for my platform but just fit inside this box section, like a really snug fit. So if I cut that off there nicely, fire it all up, then I should be able to slide a piece of my box section leg through, chop that to the right size and screw it in place, and then we should find that it'll just fit. Hello average anglers, just doing a little recap because it's been a few days since I've done anything, and so I can't remember where we were and what I've said to you. Here we've got a complete hillbilly all-terrain golf cart. I found out that's what I found out what they're called. These are one of the really old models, and I bought 2 of these. I thought I'd show you a complete one. And what I've basically done is I've chopped it here and here, so that all that we've got left is this piece. As you might have saw from the previous videos, I've had to take the cable in. There's a cable running down inside there, so you obviously don't want to chop that off. And that runs all the way up to there, and then you've got the handle at the top. So what we've done is we've turned that into this. This is it here. Taking the wheels off, they just pop off. That's the motor and that subframe there. It's a different colour because the other one was black. This one's like a grey colour. And then what we've chopped off, we've just slid onto a bar, which is one of the legs off my platform. Said platform there that we've already spoken about. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy spinning around. So that's just on there so that I can clamp it in there, and also that's going to be part of how we mount it. And the reason I've been waiting a few days is because I need to connect my battery to this. And I didn't know what connection that was, so I did a bit of research into what the connection was. I'll put the name of it on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a weird name. It's Anderson Torbury or something like that, but I'll put it on the screen if that's not right. There's the connection. And it goes with the 2 terminals and the battery. So the battery came the other day, and I think you've already seen that. So all I've got to do now is fit that battery into there, connect those terminals in there, little ring terminals that go over there, connect those to there, and then I've got a quick release for the battery, which is what I need. I don't want to be messing about when I take the battery on and off. That's what I want to do, and I want to keep it as original as I can because these are quite a popular golf buggies, what I found out. So these golf buggies here, they're quite popular, so I'll have spares, and I've got that whole golf buggy there for spares as well. So what I'm about to do is set it all up. I disconnected that cable from there. That's the control cable, which, if you remember, plugged into here. There's a nice little chocolatey block, I would call it, but it's just a terminal block, so I can reconnect back into, and then we'll test it. So I'm going to turn you off, and when you come back it'll all be put together, because I'm not going to show you me putting it together. It's literally put some screws on there, click the thing together and put some screws in there, and we're only going to do that for testing. I have to take it all apart again anyway. So if it spins and I'm happy, then I can start thinking about how I'm going to mount it onto my trolley, and then I can think about how I'm going to run the cable in. Hello everyone, we're back, and look, the battery is connected. The connection worked perfectly. The 2 terminals are on quick point. I bought a reconditioned battery, and this terminal here didn't have a washer with it. That terminal did, and that wouldn't tighten up properly, that terminal. So I had to find a little washer out of my stash and stick it in. You do not ever want a loose terminal. You'll just get arcing. It'll just burn everything. It'll ruin itself. The terminal will destroy itself, and it can, can just damage your battery. So make sure they're tight. If there's no washers on, if you buy a reconditioned one like I did and you ain't got a washer on, you want to make sure that is so tight that that will not move. Okay, it's the only problem I've had. I'm connected all up at this end, so obviously it's still in pieces because we're going to have to keep putting it back together, so there's no point putting it all back together just for the sake of this. And then there we have it all. I've put the wheel back on so you can see it spin, and just out of shot now I'm just going to turn that potentiometer, and slowly you'll see that wheel turn, and the more I turn it, the faster it gets. It's a little bit intermittent to me. It's a bit better at higher speed, but that sounded a little bit intermittent at low speed. And I'm going to go all the way up, that's full tilt. Doubt I'm going to be going that fast with my trolley. But again, you've got full speed variability. You can see the 2 things happening together now. As I slowly turn that, it goes all the way down, and then eventually you turn it all the way off to a stop. So in essence it's working. Oh, that might be loose, that wheel. And that was just a bit of overrun. That was the wheel was spinning faster than the motor, so obviously you can just spin this wheel. There's definitely a bit of, yeah, a bit loose. And put it on properly. There we go, that's better. Yeah, so just so you know, these wheels on this end here, if you hold the wheel still and turn it, it's like a release mechanism, he says, and then it comes off. And then when you put it back on, you turn it and push it on, a little bit of wiggling and the wheel's on. And the idea is, well, you know, so you take the wheels on and off, but also there's a clutch there, so that's what drives the wheel. The wheel's a slave on there, sorry, the wheel's a slave on this shaft, and that's a clutch which picks up on those, on these plastic ridges here, these bits. Let me show you on here, these plastic pieces, they slide into there, and that drives it, so it lets it move in one direction, so you can freewheel it if you need to, but then it's solid in the other, so if it drives, so if the battery ever failed, you can just push it through that and you'll be all right. So my next step, I'm going to work out how I'm going to fit this to the platform over here, and I'll be back with you when I've got more idea what I'm doing. But progress is good. I'm happy it's moving. We don't know how it works under load. We don't know what's going to happen. It might all fall to pieces. It might not like that much load on it, but it's one step, baby steps. Catch you in a bit. Right then, everyone, what I've done is I've put a bit of cardboard in the background just to try and give you a bit more of a contrasty background so you can see what's happening, because it's quite hard with all the gubbins in my shed. I've left this wheel on so you can see what's going on, so I'm going to slide that wheel off now so you can understand what we've got, for those that might not be getting their head around it. We've got the axle there, which is the bottom, and then this is the top, so it's upside down in my vice. And if you remember earlier on in my video, when we chopped the frame for the trolley, we found that this is the leg. This is one of the legs. Let me show you here. One of these legs that comes with my platform, in my Penrose platform. I'll measure it and I'll put the measurement on the screen for that. That box section fitted neatly into there. So we slid it in, and it's like literally you can't move it with your hand. You have to tap it with a hammer to get it to where you want. So it's really nice snug fit. And then that went all the way to the end, and it did have a foot on it, like so. It had one of these feet on. But I have, if you have a look there, chopped the foot off. So I've then put that into the front of my platform, into this piece here, which I'll show you later all assembled. And that's how the wheel normally goes on, like we showed before, like I showed you before with the original wheel. So I showed you that. So what I've realised is by leaving this length, almost full length, we can take this piece, which is a piece that came with the trolley, and it's for this arm. So with the trolley, this folds down out the way, and this is the problem. You see this here, this hinge, this is a lovely hinge point, and things fold down lovely, but it's not gonna, if we try to put weight on this, it's just going to fold. So that's what this arm's for. This arm is to stop it folding. Now normally that arm was attached to another moving part and it just moved around, but we're not going to, what we're going to do is we're going to fix it on there. We're going to use that. We've got the nuts are over there with it, so I'll drill some holes and I'll slide the nuts underneath, and we'll just put those screws straight through. I might have to shorten them a little bit, and that will bolt in place, and this will be permanently on there. And so what I'm trying to do is by eye just set that up to square, because I think that's the best way for the weight. So I want the weight to be coming straight down through this assembly, so that in theory it's not putting a lot of load on this. This is just keeping it upright, because this isn't that thick obviously, and I don't want, if I was to say let's put this at that angle and then put that down, just because I felt like that was nice, then there's load is coming down there all the time, so it's trying to hinge that point, so it's actually pulling on there. If I'm boring you with the engineering, don't worry about it, just leave it with me, because that's what I do. But those of you that are getting what I'm on about, you'll know what I mean. So got to get that square to that, basically. That's the nicest way to do it. So everyone, for those that want to follow in a bit more detail, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. I've found the spot that I want that to be at. By getting that square by eye, I'm not worried about, I'm not going to put a square on it or anything like that, because I don't think we've got to go to that anal level. And then I've placed that where that needs to be, and then I've got a little clamp, and I've just clamped the one side, and then what I'll just do is just run a drill down into there, nice and steady. You can see that. Then that'll be, then what I'll do is I'll drop a nut into I'll drop the bolt, and I can find him. He's in here somewhere. I'm good at making a mess. He'll be around here somewhere. So I'll then drop the bolt through. That will hold that in position, and then I can drill the other one, so that the two holes are perfectly lined up how I need them. You don't have to worry about measuring and marking out and all that malarkey. I've got a drill that fits snugly into the hole, which is 5mm. So it's a 5mm drill. It's probably a 5mm thread. That fits nicely in there, really snug. So that's the one. I'm just going to go straight in with the 5. I'm not going to try and drill it out with a smaller one. It's a pretty thin tin, so it'll probably be fine. Just going to use a little battery drill. Well, I'm not going to show you me drilling it, but that's what I'm going to do. All right, guys. There we are. I've moved it into the vise so I can get a bit more purchase whilst drilling down in it, because you're going to have to put some weight through it. I've drilled the first hole, and what I meant was, when you get your screw, you put your screw through your plastic block, and you wiggle your screw through your hole that you've just made there. That gives you your location, and then you can just freehand drill that. And all you've got to do is hold it in position, put the drill down until the drill makes a little mark or a little dent, and then you can take it all away and just finish drilling through. Nice and easy. And then your two holes will line up perfectly, and everything's where you want it, and you won't have to do any measuring and marking out. Don't drill all the way through. Don't drill through the top and the bottom, because you can't put your nut underneath, because that's going to lie flush. When you fit it, that lies flush with the bottom of the platform. So you're going to have to put your nuts in the hole. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Don't put your nuts in this hole. You're going to have to slide the nuts in there, and we're going to have to start them in there, and have to shorten these nuts a little bit because they're bottoming out at the bottom of the thing. But the bottom of the box section, so you just slide your nuts in, and you can bottom from underneath. I'll probably show you anyway. I keep saying I'm not going to show you, and then I feel like I need to show you, so I'll probably will show you. There we go, guys. The two holes are drilled. Don't worry if it's a little bit, if it doesn't look like it's quite square. That's just sitting how it wants to sit. I'm not trying to force it in any funny position. A little bit of a safety tip there. Just get a file and just rub it down the back there, because you'll create some nasty burrs, especially at the back there. And if you when you stick your finger in later on, you're going to want to not chop your finger off or hack the end of your finger to bits. Don't use your finger like that to test, but it's fine anyway, because I've just used my finger to test and I found out that it is, but that's not advised. Cheers. Right, everyone, I've positioned you above. You're looking down. If you're wondering what's going on, you're looking down now on top of my vise. We've got the two-part block. We slide that up, the bottom part under, the top part on the. Done that wrong, you see. You know, the bottom part's got the hexagons because it was originally used to hold the nuts captive. So that's the bottom part. And that's the top part. And you've got to wiggle that around and find the hole. It won't be straightforward because this might not be in exactly the right position. So if you need to push it through and look underneath, you can. There you are. Then you've got to get your nut and slide it in the end there. Sounds easy, but it's not. If you are lucky enough to have a spanner that fits this, which I do have here. So you're thinking, oh, I've got a spanner that fits, I'm all right. Well, you're not, because it doesn't go in the end. So you're going to have to just do it old school. This will be a total fiddle about. And it might take you 10 minutes to get this started, or longer, depending on how good you are at this sort of thing. So I'm going to do that off camera, because I'll just be swearing a lot. And if I find a little quick way of doing it, I'll show you. Right, I'm back, and that one's in. Now, that's the trickiest thing, part of this project so far. So what I had to do was get the nut, put it on the end of my finger, slide it in the end with everything out of the way so I could see, and line the nut up with the hole, then get the screw, put it through the block, and then start it so where I could see it. Now obviously these are nylock nuts, what you call nylock nuts, a locking nut. So they do it really easy until they get to the end, and then they thread through some nylon which stops them coming undone, but then they don't turn very easy. So once you get it down there and start it, it then just spins the nut. So then you've got to get a screwdriver and wedge the screwdriver in and sort of trap the nut where you want, and then I'll use my battery drill and just tighten it down until it's tight. So that side's now tight. It's just a case now of getting this side in, which may be a bit difficult now I've tightened the other side down so much. But if it doesn't work, I can just run the drill down through there just to tidy it up. Let's see which way out I am, which way I've got to go with it. That way. I think if I just push that in the right place, the drill will probably through there. There we are. Just a bit of wiggling and jiggling. I might even be able to hold this with a spanner, but if you ain't got a spanner, you can just use your fingers. This was a dead handy little tool, this magnet on a stick, because every time I drop the nut I could just put it down the end and get the nut back out. Here I'm just using it because it magnetises the spanner slightly so that it holds the nut in place. I can't quite get my chubby fingers in there. I've got a sneaky suspicion this is going to turn into a swearing match. Maybe I can just do it without. It's so close. Maybe we can just put the nut on there, on the magnet, and just get it to spin and start up. It's just started. There we are, slowing up that. There you are, that is on. Not going to be taken off there very easily. So, my advice is to put self-tappers in there. Don't do what I've done. Get rid of them screws. If you're going to do this, get them screws, drill smaller holes and just run self-tapping screws in. It'll be better than trying to reuse what you've got. But, you know, I'm trying to do this with absolutely no cost and no extra bits and bobs other than obviously having some tools. So at the moment, everything we've used is what came with the unit, and now we're fixed. That is all fixed in place and ready for the next phase. Thanks guys. What isn't obvious is that although this arm here on this wheel, look at this wheel, although this arm is what connects it to the platform, these arms here and this, they're actually what carry the load. So that just bolts it in place and it holds it onto the platform, and these, the weight sits down onto those, because and on the bottom of the platform there it is against the wall. So the you know, I'll do it while it's there. Actually, that's a good idea, isn't it? I'll slide it in for you so you can see what's on the wall. So that's how it goes in. That obviously slides all the way up, but I've got wooden bits and bobs in the way. But this little piece here, it's, you know, it's only thin metal. It couldn't take all that weight, which is what mine would be doing at the moment. So as the weight of what's on the barrow pushes down, it pushes down onto here. So this takes the weight really, and that doesn't flex. I don't have anything here on my current design at the moment. I don't have anything that's spreading the load across these two cross members. So I need to come up with something for that, which won't be difficult, but I've just got to do it. I haven't got a welder, so I'm going to have to bolt it together, that's all. Hello everyone, right, I'm a bit further along in the project than the last time you saw me. My apologies for that, some footage has been lost I think. So I'm going to try and fill in the gaps now for you. Here we have, hopefully you can see that we've got the gearbox, and the wheel would go on here and the battery would be in here, but he's on charge at the moment. And the last time you saw, we had this bar in, but what we didn't have was this piece. So this box section here and these two bits of channel, we didn't have them. There's a bit of channel here and a bit of channel here. If you look there, you'll see what I mean. They're sort of sitting over the top of the box section, but they're not all the way around it. So what that allows this whole thing to do is just be rigid now. This bar can't start moving that plane, putting force on that box, you know, on the connection at the front there. And if it tries to move in this plane, it's supported here. And these are actually quite a tight fit, these now. I actually sort of make it so you have to push them on, which I like, because then it's just all more solid and transfers the load a lot better, and I just feel like it might last. Obviously some of these screws are still a bit long and a bit needs tidying up, but we're still sorry, we're still prototyping. So I'll take it off now, put it on the bench, and I'll show you how I made this little bit. It's not complicated. Right, so you've just seen it on the platform. Here it is on the desk. I keep calling it a desk, but it's a bench. Last time you saw it, that bit didn't exist, and all that was there was this piece. So all that's really changed since you last saw it is 2 bits of angle iron are being used to bolt on another piece of platform leg. That's a piece of platform leg there. You could just use some more box section from the trolley if you want. You don't have to use a platform leg, but I'll just use the platform leg. I like the anodising. I think it's going to have a longer life. Found a bit of angle, chopped it up, cut it sort of 20mm wide, stuck it on there. I've been out and bought some 5mm by 30 bolts and nuts. And then here we have some 4-inch sections. If I turn it over, you'll see that that is just the box section from the original trolley. Remember when we chopped all the arms down and we took all the arms off and we didn't have any use for them, you know, the handle and everything. So we've got plenty of that. So I've chopped that down into 4-inch lengths, 2 4-inch lengths, and then I've just cut the top off. Just take your time with an hacksaw if you're not very good, or you can use a grinder if you've got a really fine cutting disc, and just get a nice finish. And then those then slot over, as you saw a second ago, nicely slot over there. There's a little bit of movement in those, but I quite like that, because once they're in and it locks, it all sort of locks itself in place. So it just means that if there is any sort of movement in the metal, if it twists over time or whatever, you can still get it all in location. So that is, I feel like this part of the assembly is as close to finished practically as it can be. There's tidying up to do. I want to check these edges off. I want to shorten the bolts down, maybe take some of these nuts off and put nylocks on, so that I'm never going to have to worry about them coming off and stuff like that. Details. I need to put a couple of self-tap screws in here just so this box section doesn't drift up and down there, although it hasn't moved, and I have actually been out and tested this. But I will be drilling it anyway, because over top one day it will move on me, and it will move, you know, when I'm a long way from the car park. I just know it. So we'll do that. Right, so here's our potentiometer, and obviously I've been looking at it in detail, and I noticed that you can actually take this green dial off. I thought, oh, well, that's handy, because then maybe I can mount that in inside the box section, and have just the green handles coming out, and that'll be great. But what I found is that this blue box is fractionally too big to go down inside my box section, so that's not an option for me. I don't want to start filing this, and I don't want to start trying to file the box in, because it's going to be a handle holding them. I don't want it to snap on me. So what we've got here is this is the handle. The leg end is here, and the handle end is here, and this is just here, just out of shot at the moment. I don't know if I can just tweak it so you can see it. There, that's just that little curve there. You hold that bit, you hold this piece just out of shot, and then it curves into there. So what I want to do is put that there, so that when you're holding it, this is the underside, so when you're holding it, your finger and thumb, as you hold it like that, your finger and thumb are underneath, and they can just tweak it and adjust it. So it's going to be very difficult for me to try and to drill that into there. So what I can do is drill a hole here and run the cables in, and then I can have the cables running down and coming out somewhere down here if I want. Or I may just actually, just because it's such a short run, I might take this block out, solder the cable onto there, tidy all that up, seal it all up with some properly, so it's not, you know, water's not going to be an issue, and then just like permanently fix it down here, maybe like cable tie it or tape it or something. And then what I'm going to do here to hold this in place is I'm going to get some of my thermoplastic stuff that you might have seen me use before, and I'm going to just mould it around there so that it sort of encases that, so no water can get any ingress into it, and so it just looks a bit tidier and it won't move. And then I'll just have the cables coming out, and we'll sort the cable bit out in a minute. So when I'm back in a minute, we'll have the thermoplastic out again, and we'll be messing about trying to make this look tidy and work properly. Give me a minute. Right guys, I'm back. I'm not hanging about. For those that haven't seen this before, that cup that was just appeared in front of you, I've got water freshly boiled out of the kettle literally 20 seconds ago. Here I'm about to put something called polymorph plastic. Basically, it's just a thermoplastic. Comes in granule form. As you can see, I've got some sawdust in there, which is not good. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but they should very, very quickly be going transparent. It means they've melted, but they haven't turned into a liquid. They don't go to a total liquid, they go to like a gel. Don't want big bits of crap in there. Even though that's just come out of boiling water, I can handle it with my hands. Work with sausages and cylinders like you did when you was at school is my advice. If you want more information about these, check out my channel. There's a few videos where I use this stuff to make my own accessory holders. Really thought through what I'm doing. I'm just going to go around the body. Start with, just to give me something. Sort of mount. I'm sorry if you can't see what I'm doing, but I have to work very, very quickly. It's a very cold day today. I'm out in my shed. I don't have heat or anything in my shed. And you might not be able to see, but what I've basically done is I'm just creating like a plastic housing for that to sit in so it can't go anywhere. And then when I'm happy, I could try and stretch that round and turn it into one thing, but trust me, in my experience, the more you try to do in one go, the worse it gets. So what I'll do is I'll let that set, then I'll make the next piece, which will be the strap that goes around the back, and then I'll bind those together. A bit of heat from my heat gun, and then that will sit there. Back with some more hot water. And I'll put a bunch of plastic in there for a second. I'm going to get my blowtorch out. Very carefully apply heat to these parts here and try and point the heat away from the what I want is just the edges of that to be liquid like they are, and then when I wrap the next piece around, I'm hoping that means they'll form a nice solid bond. Again, I always work with a sausages and balls. Sounds wrong, but you know what I mean, guys. Insert your own joke if it makes you happy. Put a finger on the thumb on the top to push that down, pushing that sort of sausage shape from underneath. And then here and here where that plastic had melted, there'll be a real nice bond. And I'm hoping that you're picking up on camera what I'm doing, but I'm just blending them in. I didn't drill that hole in the side like I said I was going to. But if this just starts to slide up and down, I'll just drill a hole through it and self tap it. I'll drill a hole straight through and put a self tapper in. So actually it's not a big deal anyway, is it? Let me take you off the stand so you can have a good look around at what we've done there. So there. So the slightly whiter piece is the original first bit, which we just kind of wrapped a sausage shape around it and tried to just keep it as consistent and even as you can. It's very difficult if you haven't got much time, and the more you mess with it the worse it gets. And then underneath, as we come down underneath, just did the same again. I just got like a sausage shaped piece about so long, folded it up and sort of nipped it on here so it would join, and then just flattened it as consistently and smoothly as you can by hand. Now all we've got to do is let old Father Time do his job. Give that 20 minutes, come back, and it should be as hard as it's going to be. We'll see whether we've been successful or not. I know I'm going to get asked, so I'm just sticking this in. That is what we've been using, that plastic. You put it in boiling water, and as you've seen, it just becomes mouldable. Like I say, if you want more information, there is a little bit more detail in my how to make your own fishing accessory holders. Go back through my channel, you'll find it. It's been one of my popular videos. But that's what they are. You can buy them off eBay, they're not expensive. Give them a go, guys. They've worked really well for me. So after I put the thermoplastic on here, it didn't move. It's set and it won't move. It's quite tight. That's nice. So I've not had to put a screw in it or anything. I just left it how it is. I got rid of the little connection block and I've put some connections under there, and I've just put them under tape. I haven't filmed it and showed it you because really what I've done is a bit rough. And if I had some shrink tube and all that sort of stuff, I'd do it nicely. And I'll probably go undo it all and do it again. But that's going to set me back several days. And I just want to get the project moving, so that's why I've not showed it to you. But you know, it's just connecting cables together. It's pretty straightforward. It's low voltage, low current. It's very fine cable. There's no way this cable is taking the current that goes to the motor. You just melt it. It's just a control circuit, so it's tiny voltages and tiny currents. It's just sending a signal to the control board, and the control board will send the correct amount of current to the motor based on what this potentiometer reading is telling it. So I've just taped it down to there, and then the idea is this will all stay on this light leg, and then the end of the cable, see, it's got a plug. That's how it came. So that plug there is the standard plug for the control board end. So that's all comes. That's how it comes. That's the end of the potentiometer, and it just goes in. So you can just plug and unplug that each time you build it. Away you go. So that's quite nice. And again, like I say, that's standard. So if the control board fails, I've got a spare control board on my other trolley, and I can just swap it. And I've got all my connections are all the same, just like the battery. If there's a problem with the battery, the connection's standard. Okay. Right, guys, we're back thinking about what I want to do is potentially have some legs on the platform. The handles for the barrow are also the legs. They go through the platform and down to the ground, and I want to potentially put some wheels on them. Now, if you remember looking back when we dismantled this golf trolley, it had this on. This was at the bottom that went underneath the bag, underneath where the bag goes. And they've got these little slave wheels on, which may or may not be right. I may have to go for something more like this in the future. But for now, I'd like to try this. So I've had a little look at these, and this is what they're like. If you can hear that, sound rough as 10 bears, and they're stiff as a board. Not really any good. So what I did with, if you look, they've just held on with a nut and a washer. And that shaft there runs through both of them and is welded in two places there, and it's solid. So all I did was took the nut off this end and the washer. I wiggled that off there, but this was all rusty and nasty, so I'll give it a really quick clean up. I'll give it a better clean up in a minute. It was all dirty. And then I've spun it a few times with a bit of lubricant. And now we've got, it's still a little bit noisy, but look how free running it is. That's all I'm worried about, it being free running. The noise means that the bearings are probably a little bit pitted and damaged and not so good, but this is not a high-speed application, so a pitted noisy bearing like that in a high-speed application would eat itself away in no time at all. But this isn't gonna, this could carry on running for years. in this application, as long as I keep it lubed up. And if I need to later on, I can look at these bearings, because I think these bearings knock out, and I might be able to get a couple of nice new bearings for a few quid, sealed bearings. I may even be able to buy spares for these via the Hillbilly stuff. But I just want to get something working for now. Like I say, I'm trying to do everything as cheaply as we can, see how much we can actually motorise our trolley for, or what's the minimum we can get away with. So I'm going to do the same to this one. And then what I'm thinking is, I'm going to chop here and here, leaving these welds on. These welds are important because these welds hold that leg in position. That stump there. If I take that, there's no weld on this side, so if I take that weld away, that will just be free to fall off. And I'm going to cut this here and take this bolt out so that I've got two separate legs. Now what we know, or what we think we know, is that this should push over the leg on my box, because that's what you know, what we found with the box section. I've just checked this box section against the other box section that we've been using from the trolley, and it does seem like it might work. So I might then be able to push this over the end of my leg and literally just push a wheel straight on. Right, back again guys, just to be clear what I was on about when I said cut down there, I meant like that. That's a bolt, that is, so that will just come out. I'm leaving it in just to hold it together to make it easier. The top piece, as I suspected, it's a solid bar. The bottom piece is a tube. Don't cut any closer to the edge than that, so that you've got the full strength of that weld, because there's no weld this side. It's just that's all that's holding it on. That's what's going to keep your wheel, your stub axle in place. And then all I've got to do, got stuck together now, is put it back in the vise, chop down there again. I'm just using an hacksaw. That's what you're left with. There's disconnected. The circular piece in the middle has been cut as close to the edges as you can to keep. They've been filed down now. Just get a nice file and file them down. Now that one's been chopped, leaving those welds, like I said. And then I'll just loosen this off. You need a spanner because it's another one of those nylocky nuts. Whoops. And then that comes apart like so. I'm not sure if these rubber bits might just push off. They just look like push inserts, which I can just take out of the way. Whoa! Let's have a look, shall we? Hopefully I can just put that in the vise, grip it and just wiggle it out. Yeah, it's just an insert that is going to come out. Good quality insert that is actually. The whilst I was taking the second wheel off camera, one of the bearings actually stayed on the shaft. If that happens to you, just take your time getting it off. You don't want to do any more damage to it than it's already got with its age. The bearings are actually plastic. The bearings are actually a plastic outer and inner, so I'm assuming they've just got a little metal bearing, so they're quite a cheap bearing really, but at least they won't corrode. So I've sprayed some silicone spray in there. I sprayed loads of WD-40 and just washed it through, and then I've sprayed some silicone lube in there. I'll just keep spinning them and trying to wash out any dirt that's in there. I mean, if there's any sort of hardcore dirt got in there, then they're going to be ruined anyway. But I'm not too worried about that at this point. Like I said, I don't think it's going to have a major impact. So pop them two rubber things out. There's two more on there, as you just see me do. And then we've got to take this cap off the top, not the bottom one where the stub is. That can stay on for now. Want that one off so we can slide our shaft down there. We might have to make a hole in this one, because as we shine the shaft in, if it's a tight fit, it'll trap air. It might not want to go down, so we might have to just drill a hole in that one, which might not be a bad idea, just to let water out as well if it gets any water in it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it as well. So again, I don't want to save that. It looks like it's seen better days, so I'll just attack it with a screwdriver and hammer and just get it off. Don't hang about with it. Just get him out of there. Right guys, back. You should have seen the video of me taking these, chopping all this down off of the trolley already, and that we lubed all these bearings up and whatever. But look, that's running quite freely. Like I said, noisy but freely. I'm not worried. What we want to do is take this, which is the leg. I don't know if this is all getting in shot, but basically the handle's up this end. Again, this one's got no rubber on it. I might put something on there actually, just to make it more nice and comfy to grip. But this one's the handle. It runs down to there, and that bit goes through your platform. That goes through the platform, and that piece comes out the bottom of the platform and goes to the ground. That's your foot. Hence why he's all muddy, because he's been out in some muddy places. And what I want to do is stick that on there and have that so that slides on and slides off like a removable. I have to have it sliding off so that I can get this off the platform. I can't have this on permanently. So I'm gonna file the plastic a little bit and put a lead on it. I feel like the plastic sort of burred up over use, and it's made this slightly bigger. And I'm gonna just have a look at that and see if I can knock it, make sure it's dead square, because it looks like it's been banged and bumped about over time. It might not be quite as square as it was. Now, when I chop this tube off here, what you don't realise is that tube did actually go 3/4 of the way down to about there. So, in the ideal world, that will act as a natural stop. I'll be able to slide that all the way down to there, plump. And it shouldn't fall. If it's a snug enough fit, it won't fall off. It's kind of a balancing act between it being snug enough not to fall off, but not so snug that I can't get it off when I get back to the car park. So that could be the challenge. That'll give me an extra that much extra. Looking there, I can't tell if you're in shot at the moment. So I'll show you again. So that will sit about there, and that will give me that much extra height, which I don't think will be far away from the amount of extra height we've got at the front with the new setup on, and we'll be back to being roughly square. And to be honest, I think as long as it's not ridiculous angle, it'll be fine anyway. So let me clean up. I'm not going to video me like filing and tapping stuff about, and I'll see how good I can get that to go on and off there, and whether or not we've got to get a nut and bolt or something. Leave it with me. Right, I'm back, guys. We've got that, so that pushes onto there nicely. If you give it a good shake about and whatever, it doesn't come off, but it pulls off with your hand. I mean, I couldn't have made it any better than that if I tried, and you know, that's just worked out. And I can feel that is hitting against there. Beauty of that is that by using that, I haven't had to make a stop, and that'll be the same on both sides because it's the same tube. So I'm hoping the other side I'll have to check actually. See, look, yeah, he's blocked as well, so it'll work. So that will now just sit on the end of that leg and go like that. So don't know if you've noticed any difference, but before that looks like this. I couldn't get them to push together in smoothly. I filed a lead onto all the plastic bit there, so that I knew that the plastic wasn't interfering. It still would only go down a certain way, but then when I looked closely, this hole, which did have a bolt going through it, and I had all inserts pushed into it, it's just deformed the box section slightly. So if you look down on the end there, you can see it comes in. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but this edge in particular curves in. So what I did was I just chopped it off, tidied the end up as best I can, made sure it looked nice and square. And then as soon as I've done that, it's just gone straight on. And then I've got to give it a bit of pull to get off, but that's what I want. I'd rather have to pull it a bit to get it off than it falling off while I'm using it. So I'll do the same for the other one now. Oh gang, after another 5 minutes of cleaning up, they're probably a little too loose now. Right guys, I've been working on a solution to our problem of these new little wheels falling off. So once again, we're back to the polymorph plastic. Seems to be my go-to solution for everything. Just putting some beads in there. Hopefully that's enough. Do a little pinch more just in case. So while they're just melting, I'll show you the other one that I've already done. I know it's not the most beautiful, pretty looking thing in the world, so sue me. But we'll look inside. You can see like a little bit of the plastic sticking out. And how I've achieved that is by I've drilled a hole straight through there, both sides, so it goes right down through. Make sure you file it all out, because obviously them burrs will stop you putting your leg in and out. So we've got a 4mm hole and a 4mm hole. I haven't picked 4mm because that's some sort of magical number. Picked 4mm because that's the first drill that I put my hand on that I thought, oh yeah, that'll do. That looks about right. Again, we do a sausage, quite a thin one. It's got to be long enough to go all the way around the box section when you squeeze him. Squeeze him all the way around so that he joins underneath, and then at the point where the holes are, just push. And you want to see the plastic coming through the hole a little bit. Now what that will do, that will serve two purposes. Purpose one, once now that little collar, ring, or whatever you want to call it, it won't slide on, it can't slide on or off because it's sort of keyed on with those holes. But also, they're points that catch, so as you put your leg in, your leg catches, and so your leg doesn't fall out. So your leg's tighter fit. I'll just show. There's a leg. So when I put him on, I can just as I get to there, I can feel the resistance, and then as I slide them, but it's easy to push on, look, no resistance, not too hard, because I'm just pushing against that little bit of plastic, which is a bit like nylon, but it doesn't want to come off too easily. And then when I'm finished, I can just slide it off, and you can see how that pinged apart. Then there was a bit of resistance there. It wasn't just me, you know. That's all you want. And that's better than I was going to put like a thread on and a screw, but it's just another thing to do up and undo. And it's all timing match fishing, you know. You get up early enough in the morning and you've got to drive all the way there, then you end up being 5 minutes late. You've got to take 10 minutes to put your trolley together, and then your 10 minutes start and your matching does your head in. So that's where we are. It looks like this one's going to be even less tidy than that one, to be fair. But I have on the second one, I've pushed the plastic through a little bit more because I feel like I could have got away with a bit more on this one. So as that's setting, I feel like that's setting for me to move it now. Hopefully you can see that. You can actually see those little plastic pieces protruding. And I'll give it another minute or so and I'll test that. But you can look at that and you think, oh, I'm not going to get it in there. But those plastic pieces will move, because as I can move it with my finger, you see. So what's happening is that plastic just flexes out, but it's like a spring it's pressing on. It's going to be ideal, I think. Come back in a minute when it's a bit cooler and we'll test it. Well, it's been a minute or two. It's nice and cool today, so everything is really setting quite quick. There's the end of my leg. There's my new thing with the bits, and you can see they're protruding through. So at least a millimetre, maybe a couple of millimetres on both sides. And then no bother at all, but it's definitely a little bit better than the other one. Just needs that extra bit of force. Oh, I'm stuck now. Yeah. That won't be the plastic that's done that. That'll just be, I've pushed it down onto something that, some of these have got burrs inside, I noticed. There we are. So that's working perfectly. I'm happy with that. That again, that's given me a quick push fit. Here she is, everyone. Ready to rock and roll. Just showed you the video footage. Sorry, the camera's shaking around a bit, it's me. Just showed you the video footage there of it moving on its own at very, very low input. Obviously once it's got some weight on it, I'll have to crank it up a little bit more. But it rolled surprisingly easy. I was worried about the size of these back wheels being too small, but they're so free running, it's quite good. So there, we've rigged up the controller there, so it's literally just off your thumb as you're going along. And then I've had to shorten it slightly because that cable was too loose, and obviously that cable disconnects part of the, so that stays permanently, sorry, got too close there, that stays permanently attached all the way down there. I've just had to sort of shorten that, but that's fine. I don't mind having a bit of spare cable there. And I want to keep that reasonably tight so it's out of the way, it doesn't tangle on the floor, get dirty or catch on anything. It disconnects here. So you literally just unplug that, and then you can take your foot off, which just pulls off like we've already gone through on the previously. And then the leg comes out, that leg comes out. You've seen me assembling it, it's just the reverse order. Batteries. Got the quick release terminal just there. So you can just put your hand in and pull it, just literally pulls apart. Pushes together and pulls apart, lovely. Bolts into there. I've gone through all these now, all these nuts and bolts. They've all got nylocks on. Tip it up. Got nice nylock nuts on. It's all nice and solid. I put the spare wheels on from the other trolley just for demonstration because they're nice and clean, they ain't been out yet. So I have taken this trolley out, I've not used it with these wheels. I used it as a platform, sorry, as a barrow without these wheels, and I've just done these wheels today. But and just demonstrate it there. Now I can't take it out in anger for a while because I'm actually isolating from COVID. So that's as close as I can get to a test. I'm going to finish this video up and put it out for you guys to see, and then we'll test it week in, week out as we're going to places that require trolleys. You'll see me using it, and then when it breaks, if it breaks, you'll see how it broke and why it broke. And it's all just be part of the fun, won't it? But there we are. So it's a little recap of cost. £60 for the 3 trolleys. We really wanted one of them. In reality, we didn't need the parts off the other ones. But looking on Facebook Marketplace, you do well to pick one up for £40. I got a real bargain for 3 for that price. So let's just say £40 for a golf trolley. Obviously needs to be a working one. Get the hillbilly all-terrain ones if you want to copy what I've done, because I don't know if anything it'll work with everything else. Battery, they're expensive, those batteries. I've got a 20 amp hour one. The more amp hours you get, the longer it'll last, but the bigger and heavier it'll be. It's a catch-22. I don't know whether the 20 amp hours is going to be enough for a long walk. You know, I know it's enough to go to take some golf clubs around 18 holes of golf, but golf clubs don't weigh the same as my box and my bag and all my bait and my rods and everything on the top, because now that this is you know, running on flat on force, I will try to strap my bag across here as well, my rod bag, which I haven't done before, so it's more weight. So that again, time will tell. Anyway, getting sidetracked, we're talking about cost. The battery, I cannot remember how much it cost me. I'll put it on the screen. I want to say 20 quid, it might have been 30. It's a reconditioned one. Again, I'll put on the screen where I got it from. I'm not affiliated to them in any way, I just found them on the internet. They sent me a battery. At the moment it's doing the business. The chargers that came with it, none of them really got connections to charge this. So I'm just using my old car battery charger. Interestingly, the smallest battery that my car battery charger will charge is a 20 amp hour, so that was fortunate because I didn't check that before I purchased it, so I got lucky. The only other purchases that we've had to make are this connector. So because we didn't have a battery, we didn't have a connector, and that connector so you have to go from the terminals of the battery to that connector Torbury again, if that's not right, if it's not a Torbury, I'm sure it is Torbury, but if it's not, I'll put it on the screen. I might have already discussed that previously. And then some screws. We've had to get some screws. I've made do with a bit of angle iron. If you haven't got any angle iron, you're going to have to buy a bit of angle iron. If you haven't got any of this plasticky stuff, you're either going to have to buy some plasticky stuff or come up with, there's many ways you can mount that on there. So, you know, or in your application, if it's different, you might not need it, but I'm not counting that as a cost because I've got literally a bag full of it and I've used it on so many different projects. It doesn't owe me anything anymore. There you are. So I'm going to call it, and I'll correct myself on the screen if I'm wrong, but I'm going to call it 60/70 quid. Obviously not including the price of the actual trolley, of the actual barrow, sorry. But I've had the barrow, literally, it's the first barrow I ever bought for transporting tackle when I was in my 20s, so it's got to be 15 years old, may even be closer to 20 years old. So it doesn't owe me a lot of money, which is why I'm not worried about messing about with it and potentially breaking it, because, you know, it's had a serviceable life already. Anyway guys, thanks for tuning in. Next time you see this barrow, hopefully I'll have finished my COVID lockdown stroke isolation and we'll be fishing somewhere with it. I've got a club match at Land's End, which I'll definitely need this for. So that might be the first official outing on video. See you then.